forever.
You can fly.
Since ancient times, dolls have been a favorite toy for girls, especially for young children. However, the dolls they played with were typically baby dolls. Until one day, Barbie emerged to replace the status of baby dolls. Barbie herself is an evolution of most dolls that appear quite ordinary. Created by the metal company, these dolls have various professions and characteristics, ranging from flight attendants and doctors to even YouTubers. The most striking thing about Barbie is that she is exclusively female. Since the arrival of Barbie, girls, in particular, began to imitate different characters and professions with various outfits. Among all the Barbie characters, we will focus on one of them named Barbara. Barbara lives with all the Barbies in Barbie Land, a different world but parallel to the normal human world. Their lives are so perfect without any shortcomings. They lead happy days as usual, exchanging greetings and celebrating together. Barbara attended an award ceremony at the Pink Building led by Barbie's president. The smiles on their faces never faded and remained wide open. Barbie had fun every day. But it was different for Ken. Kens could only be happy, joyful, and enthusiastic when they were with Barbie. Unlike Alan, he was just Alan on his own, like this particular Ken. He seemed to want to showcase his greatness in front of Barbara, but instead, he embarrassed himself. The metal company intentionally created Ken dolls as companions to make the lives of the Barbies even more perfect. In the evening, Barbara and all the Barbies threw a grand party at their home. Seeing another Ken dancing with Barbara, Ken appeared jealous and tried to demonstrate his abilities again. All the Barbies and Ken celebrated together, until a moment when Barbara asked a question that made them all fall silent in fear. She asked, "Have you ever thought about death?" After the party, Ken tried again to persuade Barbara to allow him to stay overnight. But since every night was a night for virgins, Ken had to leave. The next day, the question Barbara asked the night before continued to haunt her, causing her to lose her Barbie-like qualities. Barbara's smile and happiness were nowhere to be seen today. She couldn't even enjoy her fake bath and breakfast anymore. Even when Barbara returned to the beach with the other Barbies, her heels, which had never changed position, suddenly touched the ground, and the Barbies realized that Barbara was malfunctioning. The other Barbies had never seen this happen to any other Barbie before. This prompted them to suggest that Barbara visit one of the Barbies, who also experienced malfunction at her home. Her name was Splitter. As soon as Splitter saw the anomaly in Barbara's heels, she explained that the cause was the person playing with Barbara in the real world. Splitter also added that this malfunction was currently due to the person playing with Barbara in a barbaric way. Since all Barbies are connected to the humans who play with them in the real world, it's possible that the child playing with Barbara there is feeling sad and thinking about death, which is affecting Barbara. Splitter then suggested that Barbara find the human playing with her in the real world to return to normal. The easiest way for Barbara to visit the real world was by riding various vehicles. Now it was time for Barbara to embark on a journey to the real world. All the Barbies, including Ken, supported and encouraged Barbara. But unbeknownst to Barbara, Ken sneaked into the car. He offered to help Barbara find the person playing with her and return her to normal. He did all of this in the hope of gaining recognition from Barbara for his love for her. Upon arriving in the real world, Barbara and Ken's striking appearance made them the subject of ridicule by everyone. Barbara also realized that the real world was nothing like the Barbie world. Here, all men appeared strong, unlike in the Barbie world. This boosted Ken's confidence. He felt that in the real world, men were in control. Just a few hours in the real world, Barbie and Ken got into trouble with the police because they stole clothes. But due to their oddities and unknown identities, the police eventually let them go. Now, Barbie wanted some alone time to experience the presence of the child who played with her. As she imagined, Ken tried to explore the city. Here, he realized that in the real world, the most powerful were the men. This was in stark contrast to the Barbie world, where men could be anything and do anything they wanted, like having jobs, being sports athletes, owning cool vehicles, and even becoming leaders in the real world. Men could reject any request and get whatever they wanted, which was what Ken had always desired. Returning to Barbara, over time, she began to forget that the child who played with her was named Sasha. But as time passed, Sasha's adulthood made her forget and neglect the Barbie doll. Barbara also knew that Sasha was attending school. On the other hand, we will be taken to visit the metal company, which has now learned about Barbara and Ken leaving the Barbie world. The boss immediately dispatched his assistants to find and bring Barbara back to the Barbie world before they caused chaos. Barbara and Ken arrived at Sasha's school. Their presence once again made everyone laugh at their appearance without thinking of anything else. Barbara approached Sasha and said, "Hey, I'm the Barbie doll you often played with." However, Barbara's presence became the subject of ridicule for Sasha and her friends. They explained that the presence of Barbie dolls made many girls feel embarrassed, as perfection and beauty seemed to belong only to Barbie dolls. As for Ken, he began to take an interest in the culture of the real world and started to read some books about men who could dominate the world. Ken also tried to apply for various jobs with just the words, "I am a man." Of course, no one would accept him.
I can't even speak here!
Human emotions that Barbara, as a Barbie doll, had never experienced, began to surface. At that moment, metal company assistants found her, but instead of taking Barbara back to the Barbie world, she decided to follow their invitation because she was already hurt. Ken, who was also there, decided to return to the Barbie world to share his experiences with the other Kens. At the same time, Sasha's mother came to pick her up from school and was told that a conspicuously dressed woman was claiming to be a Barbie. Upon arriving at the metal company, Barbara quickly met with the boss, whom she initially thought was a woman. The boss immediately asked Barbara to enter a box. However, Barbara realized that this box was a confinement box that would prevent her from returning. Eventually, Barbara's actions led her to a special room occupied by an elderly woman named Rose. She told Barbara that the real world was not always as happy as her life in the Barbie world. Everyone here had emotions, and their activities varied from day to day. Rose was also impressed by Barbara, who was different from all the other Barbie dolls, as she had her own emotions and quickly learned about the real world. However, their conversation was cut short because the people chasing Barbara were already at the door. Outside the company, Barbara escaped and was saved by her mother and Sasha, who had been following her from the beginning. With joy, her mother told her that she was the one who had been playing with the Barbie doll, Barbara. In recent times, her mother had been feeling distant from her daughter, and that's what prompted her to reminisce about the time she used to play with Sasha using the Barbie doll. All the memories Barbara had seen were actually her mother's, who missed spending time with her daughter. In the midst of Barbara's chase, Ken was currently crossing the portal from the real world to the Barbie world, followed by Barbara, who brought her mother and Sasha with her. Upon arriving in the Barbie world, Barbara was shocked to find that everything had drastically changed. Now, the Barbie world was ruled by Ken, along with other Kens. Ken had brought the culture of the real world and made Barbie's house his own, naming it Dojo House. Meanwhile, in the real world, Dojo House had become extremely popular among all groups. This was what the boss had feared. Barbara's presence in the real world had changed the cultural dynamics in two different worlds. Everything Ken did was to gain recognition from Barbara. He always felt sidelined in the world of Kens, and was never noticed by Barbara. Now, Ken was going to make Barbara experience what he had felt before by rejecting her. Barbara's sadness also affected the real world, giving rise to a new Barbie model as a messy doll. This also placed Barbara under Splitter's influence to meet other messy Barbies. Meanwhile, her mother and Sasha decided to return to the real world. Luckily, their steps were halted by Alan, who was fed up with the absurd behavior of the Kens. Alan wanted to restore the Barbie world to its original state, and didn't want their interdimensional portal to be closed. Unexpectedly, Sasha, who initially hurt Barbara's feelings, tried to convince her mother to restore the Barbie world to its original state, Barbara's presence in the real world had brought Sasha and her mother closer together. Upon arriving at Splitter's home, Barbara's mother suddenly remembered that she was the Barbie doll she had played with so brutally as a child. The three of them were also introduced to various Barbie models from different eras. Barbara's mother tried to reassure Barbara by convincing her that being a woman wasn't easy. Women could do many things, like being mothers, taking care of children, and working simultaneously. None of it was wrong. Her mother's motivational words successfully encouraged Barbara and made the Barbies in front of her realize their potential. From there, Splitter planned to enlighten other Barbies using her mother's motivational words, which were also influenced by Ken. Her mother successfully enlightened each Barbie one by one. Now, Barbara's task was to convince Ken by acknowledging herself and making him her boyfriend as he wanted. The next plan was for Barbara and the Barbies to create conflict among the Kens. They exploited each Ken's ego to pit them against each other. Amidst the conflict, the boss and the assistants managed to reach the Barbie world, where they were currently declaring victory in the pink building over the return of the Barbie world to the Barbies. After the battle, all the Kens returned home, surprised because Barbie had regained her world. Finally, Ken realized that being a leader, even a leader of the other Kens, was not easy. Additionally, Ken loved Barbie so much that he dared to do what he had done before. Nevertheless, Barbara tried to reassure Ken and convince him that he could be himself without Barbie. From behind the scenes, the boss appeared, saying that what Ken had said was correct. Being a leader was not easy. The president of the Barbie world also acknowledged this. She then decided to make the Barbie world live in equality with the Kens, without any differences or hierarchies among them. Barbara's mother added by suggesting to the boss that there should be regular, ordinary Barbie models without any striking professions or characteristics. Unexpectedly, Ruth, the inventor of the Barbie doll in 1959, arrived and overheard their conversation. She, too, agreed with equality in the Barbie world. Then, she took Barbara to an empty room. Here, Barbara expressed her desire to become a human and be of use to other humans. Ruth certainly did not object to her wish. She said that if Barbara wanted to become a human, she had to understand that humans only had one ending, death. Finally, Barbara successfully became a human and continued her life with her mother and Sasha while working for a large company. And then the movie ended.